All right. I am feeling very relaxed now myself, and we are going to shift gears a little bit. Um, Welcome to this live session. I'm Khristen Massic. If you weren't able to catch my presentation already, you still have some time now that you're relaxed and grounded. But what my specialty is I come from a background of a multiple prep CTE teacher. So for my entire career, I have been always teaching multiple preps, which as a secondary teacher seems like it's becoming more of the norm. But when it comes to teaching CTE classes, a lot of the times we were being asked to teach courses that could be somewhat related, but not related all at the same time. And so when I would go to PD or any sort of training, I didn't really feel like things were for me because if someone was teaching ELA and maybe they were teaching 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and those were three different preps, those are three different contents, but it didn't speak to me because I was teaching robotics and I was teaching principles of engineering and I was teaching a computer aided drafting class. So while they were related, it was very different. The other thing that I often struggled with and that many other CTE teachers struggle with is there isn't really a curriculum out there for us to use on the regular. So, I just realized I probably should look at. Okay, now I'm seeing I was not in the comments. So, hello, Rose and George. Now I see people. I was thinking, oh, okay, this is interesting. I can only see private chat, but I'm good now. But one of the things with teaching those multiple preps and teaching those CTE classes was the lack of a curriculum. And we have standards, but sometimes that's not enough because one of the things with welcome Rose with our standards is that a lot of times standards are great, but then we're not really sure how long we should be spending on each standard. And sometimes there's not a lot of like the curriculum, the pacing guides. So I'll throw it out there. In my session, I talk a lot about building that curriculum. But then I also talk about the 4 mistakes that teachers make when they're planning. And these are mistakes that I see happen all the time. Happened with me when I was an administrator and I would go into classrooms when I was a mentor teacher and I'm currently a coach. These are the things that happen all the time. And first and foremost, it's second guessing ourselves. So I just want you to remember you are an expert in your teaching content. You are an expert. You might only be a day or two ahead of your students, but you are an expert at teaching. You are an expert at connecting with students. And even if you're still working on some of those things, you are an educator for a reason. You're wanting to be there to help students to change the world in some small way. So don't second guess your ideas. That was my biggest time suck was having an idea at school. I'm going to do this. I have this standard. This is what we need to learn. And this is the activity that I'm going to use to teach it, some of the assessments. And then I would go home and I'd sit in front of the TV, turn on Netflix, and I would start scrolling. So I would choose different websites and I would look for various like other activities that I felt like would be better. But I didn't know if they would be better. You only know if they're going to be better when you do them. So that's my number one thing as far as mistakes go is don't second guess yourself. It will save you a ton of time. It takes some practice to remind yourself, hey, slow down. I know what I'm doing. We're going to do this. And if it fails, like if it falls flat on its face, totally great. That's great. Now you know. You're not going to use that for next year. Totally fine. Or next semester, whenever you're doing that. Or if you are teaching on the block schedule and you're realizing that I did this for A day, now for B day, I'll switch some things up. That's what we teach our students to do, is we teach them to fail. And so we need to be okay failing too. Okay, hello from Hawaii. So we've got Southern Idaho, Hawaii. I'm in Utah, so I'm close to Idaho right now. My kids, I've got my 3 oldest, 9, 8, and 4, are watching a movie, so they will hopefully stay out of here. Sometimes they like to make cameo appearances. And then my baby, who's 2, is sleeping. So this is nap time, feeling super relaxed. So does anyone have any questions right now in the comments? If you do, feel free to pop them in and I can see them scrolling. So one of the questions I get a lot is from teachers who are asked to teach a class as a filler course. So I had a question just this last week about teaching a careers class. And she was looking for some curriculum, and specifically she was looking for a pacing guide. And I know Brittany is really big into AI, and she has a lot of episodes about AI on her podcast. But I will tell you, AI has made things just unbelievably different when it comes to saving time when you're planning your curriculum, when you've never taught a course before, and quite frankly, if you're not super invested in that course because you might only have it for a year or 2. So what I've been doing is I've been using AI to do backward design. So taking the standards, and you can do this in ChatGPT, and off the top of my head, I don't have the exact prompts. I know that Brittany has a lot of prompts in some of the work that she does. But what I'll do is I'll put in the standards, and I've asked ChatGPT to take those list of standards and make them into units. I've also asked ChatGPT to figure out how we're going to lump things together. And then also with like assessments and rubrics, I've used ChatGPT for a whole tons of different things. Oh, thanks, Sherilyn. So Sherilyn teaches elementary. Yes, have confidence in your own ideas. I think that's like the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that we just struggle with as teachers is, am I teaching the correct way, or like the right way, as if there is a perfect way? We all want this silver bullet. And I've noticed with all of the presentations that I've watched is there is no silver bullet. And repetitively, everyone was talking about this takes time, there's a long game. And we just need to constantly remind ourselves that we can't compare ourselves to the veteran teacher who teaches next door to us, who has been teaching for 25 years and has found something that works for them and their personality. And we're a newish teacher, or we're new to our content or our grade level. If you've switched grade levels, I know in elementary, at least in our state, you can be switched from grade level at any given time. And knowing that you are amazing, you are there for a reason, and you have great ideas. That has been my biggest time saver. Oh, okay. And so ChatGPT, I've also have some other ones that I've found recently. Now I need to, one is called EduAid. I don't even know. I guess maybe it will let me join the chat. Oh, maybe not. Okay, there's one called EduAid, and it has been awesome as well. So it's free. It's spelled, let's see, EduAide.ai. And what it does is it will allow you to select your grade level, and then it will do like a lesson seed, unit plan, and you can type in, I've been experimenting with it. So you can type in like a phrase or like a keyword or a topic, or you can copy and paste an actual standard and then hit add to workspace, and it gives a bunch of ideas. One of the things that I was loving about it as a new teacher, I didn't know a lot about routines and protocols. I had experienced them, but I really wasn't sure, just because I had been in good classes. I had experienced good conversation, good teaching, but it isn't until you become a teacher that you're like, "What? What were they doing? Like, how did they connect?" So, with protocols, I didn't know that that's what they were called, but with Eduaid, they do have, when you do a lesson seed, I'm gonna pull one up, and I don't know that I can show it to you, but it does give you some ideas of some protocols that you can use in your class to teach that topic, which I thought would have been a game changer for me as a new teacher, realizing, oh, I could use a fishbowl right here. Or this is a good time to do a gallery walk. And you still have to create it yourself, but just giving you those ideas of this is what you could do is awesome. There was another one, I think it's Magic School AI. Yeah, Magic School AI is another one that I've been experimenting with as well. That's free for teachers, and it helps with your planning. And now I can't remember if it was Eduaid or if it was one of them. Oh, Eduaid will do a credible source list. So if you don't know a ton about your topic, so I taught engineering and I was teaching drafting. And so then drafting and hand drafting. I was teaching board drafting when I first started. So that will date me. And then we transitioned into CAD. And I had learned a little bit of CAD in high school, but I hadn't learned how to teach it because it wasn't really like, I guess it wasn't part of our curriculum at that point. And then we went to 3D modeling. And so technology was changing and I hadn't learned how to do everything. So I was always constantly learning. So with this like credible source list, just gives you ideas of like where to go. So I know one of the things that I talk a lot about is I did teach lean manufacturing, which I know Sam Holcomb, if you watched her presentation, she has a background in lean manufacturing. That's what she did in college. Well, I had to learn it after so that I could teach students. And so having this credible source list was awesome. I pulled it up and I looked, and there were several different resources that I had used to learn about lean manufacturing that I thought was superb. That um, to even just like figure out what was going on, we have no idea what's going on. Okay, so it will make a syllabus for you. It does sub plans too. And I will say, I've used it. This is what I've found is the greatest thing about AI is there's a lot of people that are worried about it taking away our creativity. And I feel like Brittany has talked about this quite a bit on her podcast. But for me, it doesn't take away my creativity. It just makes it so all of that like monotonous brainstorming that isn't really using my creative abilities, someone else is doing it. It's like you have a a comp like a capable teacher aide. Like you have a someone that you're not I was about to say student teacher, but like a student teacher who's going to put together stuff but doesn't need your mentoring, so they just know everything, but they're still newish and they'll just make the skeleton for you and then you can go through and just verify that it's correct or do you want to go this direction or not and just really play with things. And so I think it's allowed me to be more creative and I think that's the biggest thing with the AI and that automation part is that now you can get back to doing what you love with the teaching and less with like all of the other stuff that you have to do. And as an assistant principal, like there was a lot of other stuff to have to do. So it even has a place for student signature. So I haven't experimented with it that much, but it was awesome from the things that I was finding. I did look, they had like some activities. I can't remember which tab it's on. I think it's so they have a wellness one, and so you can have like a team building activity. And I put one in for interior design, and it was pretty good. It probably would have needed some tweaking, but there's an icebreaker, and it does its best to like try to tie it in because I still kept it at lean manufacturing. I didn't do anything like collaboration or anything like that, and it still came up with some things. May They were good, may have not been like the best. And then I there's just a ton of different things in there. I did experiment. I looked at it too for the different grade levels to see if it was changing based on like high school versus middle school, and it did make some modifications that way. So then the other one was magicschool.ai. And now I'm one of these, and I apologize because now I can't remember which one it was. I think it's actually Eduade. One of these let you, I might have to find it and then put it in the comments. But one, and it could have been a different one I was experimenting with. One would actually allow you, if you were teaching something like writing, it would allow you to copy and paste students' work and then give you feedback on that student work. And I'm going to have to remember which one that one was, because I don't know if it was one of these two. Yes, Sherilyn, like just adding that like human element, making it sound like you, but really the nuts and bolts, like it's not changing. Like the content isn't changing. What makes you a great teacher is you as a person, you as a human. And this allows all of the, I guess it's not like the non-human stuff, but the stuff where doesn't need you to add to it. So, okay. And then report card comments. I'm wondering, I might have to do some more explanation. Like, where was this? So, a couple of things for I was looking specifically at your question or your idea about like report card comments, and I swear there was one, and I thought it was one of these two, but I could be wrong. There was one that you could put in like what that student had been receiving in your class, and then you could get, I think I had looked for automated comments. I don't I wonder, maybe Brittany has like a specific something on the report card. What I was researching for another teacher, she wanted to be able to make more meaningful, or that feedback. She wanted to have meaningful feedback that our high school students would read. And so I was trying to find a way to help her out that way as far as automations go. One thing would be to have okay, the chat bot. Oh, that was a good reminder. So the chat bot, I noticed. So the chat bot was cool because, oh, okay, two things. And I do not work for Eduade, and I don't get any kickback. It's totally free. Sorry, I'm like going on this tangent for Eduade. But the Eduade chat functions like Chat GPT. So I have experimented, and any of the prompts that you can find anywhere, or any prompts that you've made, or if you've gotten them from Brittany, or if you've heard them from somewhere else, like myself, you can type them into that Eduade chat and it will respond that way. So when I was backwards designing and saying, here are all my standards, give me a basic pacing guide, it would do that here, even though it wasn't in those like the assistant. The feedback bot, click on that one. That one gives feedback for a specific assignment. And so you can copy and paste if students are submitting things digitally, but then you can say what you want to get feedback on. And there is a custom feedback rubric. So I wonder if it's looking primarily at writing because this is still like a language bot. I wonder if there was a way that you might be able to do some experimenting with here's I'm trying to think of information that you would already have, like from your grade book, that then you could copy and paste and put in here to generate some feedback that you could then tweak. So there's some. Oh, and then there's some comments that you could do. Sherilyn's adding. So if you type in like report card comments, another thought. So anyway, I'm all about saving time and automating. And I've noticed with this, especially this curriculum piece, there was too many times where I went into the beginning of the school year and I had a new class, whether it was because I was teaching elective classes and I needed to fill fill my schedule, that I didn't know where to start. And trusting myself. But then now with ChatGPT, like that's just changed everything. And Brittany just added a prompt for report card or comments. So you can use that one and use it in ChatGPT, but then you can experiment and try using it in Eduate as well if that's something you would like to do too. I've also started experimenting with Bard AI, which I know is not available in every country because it will search the internet as well. And so there's pros and cons to all of them, but I have been loving the Chat GPT. But then there's still that mindset of, okay, like throw it through an AI if that's where you're starting from, or use canned curriculum, grab something, get something, and you're just going to have to do it the first time. And you're going to have to believe in yourself that you have enough knowledge and information as a teacher that you're probably not going to do very well. Or you might surprise yourself. But you don't know. You don't know until you try it. Give yourself some time to try it. Give yourself some grace. Allow some flexibility. Another thing that I pointed out in the presentation was when you're planning, think about you before anyone else. And I did not say it that way. I said it more eloquently, but make sure that your units, if you're teaching multiple preps, they overlap, but they don't always like end and start on the same days. Also, look at like your birthday. When is your birthday? Do not have an assessment that you're going to have to go and assign, or a big assignment or papers or whatever. Don't have a deadline on your birthday or near your birthday. Like really like craft your curriculum so that it fits you and your life. If you know that homecoming week is going to be this week, maybe do some tweaking, like figure out what's going to be happening so that you know how to do things, especially like based on your energy levels. So that's a big thing. I've got the 4 kids, and there are times I like to plan in the morning, or I plan for the week, but then every morning I sit down and I think this is what I'm going to do today based on my energy level. So I've had a newborn 4 different times as I've been teaching or at the school. And there are some times where I had planned to do something and I changed it because I was up all night with baby. Totally okay. Your students won't know. They won't know the difference. They won't know that you decided to do a less intensive activity for you as a teacher from one day to another. And another reminder is that your students, while they are your world and sure you are their world, it's okay to take time off. it's okay, especially in the secondary world. I felt like we would never take days off. And it's even still really hard for my husband. He's like, I'm the only one that can do it. But we have to get over that because when you are missing class, you're really only missing so much time. If you're a secondary world, you're missing 45 minutes to 76 minutes or 90 minutes every day of that student's life. So sure, it's big for you. You're gone for the entire day, but you really think about it. Yes, there are some days when you leave a sub plan and nothing happens. The sub, it just, no matter how much you train your students, sometimes that doesn't go well. But know that you can take that time off. It will be okay. When you come back, you can just pick up where you left off. Okay, I'm double checking. I'm looking. We're getting a lot of like AI stuff, which I have been loving the AI. And I know over on Threads, we've been talking a lot about AI. I have no idea how to use Twitter, so I'm sure they're talking about it over there too. And then I'm sure that I know for a fact, Brittany, I have a few podcast episodes. So I'm the host of the Secondary Teacher Podcast. And I have some episodes on AI, but I also know that Brittany has quite a few because I've listened to them. And she gets really big into the nitty gritty of like, use this tool to do this, which is awesome. So if you need like a refresher on different tools that you could use in the classroom, and I know, so Sherilyn, you're talking about being hesitant on like bringing AI. The other thing, I went to a conference this summer and it was for gifted and talented students, and they put a little bit of a different spin on AI, and they were talking about how to teach our students how to use AI to get feedback. And I thought it was brilliant. So one of the things that they had done, and I think it was with ChatGPT, and I know there's some kind of weird things because if it's a certain age level, like should they be using AI? But one of the things that they said is that they have their students take their essay or their writing and they put it into ChatGPT and they ask ChatGPT to identify the tone. Or so they're kind of having like a second pair of eyes, even though it's like robotic eyes, to give them feedback. So it's probably better than like a peer review. Although, I mean, there's some other things that you gain from peer reviews. But I thought it was brilliant of teaching our students how to use AI as well. So I know in the elementary world, though, that probably won't happen. Okay, I've got like less than 2 minutes. Is there anything else anyone was dying to ask about? Any of like the mistakes, anything that like resonated with you, or even from this live, anything that you want to be using this year? This is a perfect time. This is the very exciting time. Don't be too hard on yourself. And once again, this is like, I will shout it from the rooftops, but trust yourself. You are amazing. You have an amazing brain. You are smart. You are gifted. You are talented. You know what you're doing as a teacher. Whatever pops into your head first, go with it. That will save you the most amount of time. Trust yourself. Trust that you are where you are meant to be. You are in this classroom with these students so that you can make a difference. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. You can try again. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off and hope that you enjoy the few hours that you have left of this amazing conference that Brittany has provided for us all. And I hope to connect with you some other time. You're welcome. And you can find me socials. I'm not on TikTok. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do that, but at Khristen Massic, and it's Khristen. And usually if you start typing that in, I will pop up. And then the Secondary Teacher Podcast. Until next time.